Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating concept from Buddhism that might completely change the way you see yourself and the world around you. It's called non-self, or in the original Buddhist term, Anatta. Now I know what you're thinking. Non-self. What does that even mean? We're all so used to thinking of ourselves as distinct individuals with our own identities, our own stories. But Buddhism teaches us that this idea of a fixed, permanent self is actually an illusion. And by understanding this concept, we can free ourselves from a lot of unnecessary suffering. So, let's break it down. What exactly is non-self? To put it simply, it means that there's no unchanging, eternal self, or I, that exists within us. Everything we usually think of as me, our body, our thoughts, our emotions, is constantly changing. There's no fixed core. Let's start with the body. Think about your body as it is right now. It's not the same body you had when you were born, right? You've grown. Cells have died and been replaced. If you go back a few years, the body you had then isn't the body you have now. So, can we say that our body is the real permanent self? What about our minds? Think about your thoughts and emotions. Have you ever noticed how quickly they change? One moment you're happy, the next you're sad. You might believe something deeply today, but next year, your perspective could completely shift. So, if our thoughts and emotions are constantly changing, where's this stable I we often think exists? Buddhism teaches that what we call the self is really just a collection of changing experiences. There's no permanent, unchanging you, and that's what non-self is all about. Here's a practical example to help you get a clearer picture. Imagine you have a bicycle. Now, a bicycle is made up of different parts: the wheels, the frame, the handlebars, the seat. If you replace each part of the bike, piece by piece, at what point is it no longer the same bike? Each part has changed, but you still call it your bike. In the same way, what we call self is really just a collection of parts: body, thoughts, emotions, all of which are constantly shifting. Let's look at another real-life example. Think about a time when you were really angry. In that moment, you might have thought, "I'm so angry right now, I'll never forgive that person." But a few days or weeks later, that anger fades, and maybe you even forget what made you mad in the first place. So, was that anger really you? Clearly, it was just a temporary emotion that came and went. This brings us to a big question. If our emotions, thoughts, and bodies are always changing, then what is the real you? Buddhism doesn't deny that we exist, but it shows us that the self we hold on to is not a permanent, unchanging thing. It's more like a process, a flow of experiences. Now, you might wonder, how can understanding non-self help us in everyday life? Here's the key. Many of our struggles come from trying to protect or defend this idea of a fixed self. For instance, have you ever worried about what other people think of you? Maybe you're concerned that if you don't perform well at work or in school, people won't respect you. But this worry comes from thinking that there's a solid you that needs to be defended. If you understand non-self, you realize that there isn't a permanent you to protect. Other people's opinions are just temporary thoughts, just like your own thoughts are. Someone might admire you today and change their mind tomorrow, and that's okay, because who you are isn't fixed in their perception, or even in your own. Here's another everyday example. Let's say you're feeling anxious about a presentation at work or school. Your mind is racing, and you keep thinking, what if I mess up? What will people think of me? If you're clinging to the idea of a fixed self, this kind of anxiety can really get under your skin. But if you remember that there is no permanent self to mess up or succeed, you can approach the situation with more freedom. Your performance today doesn't define you because you are always changing. Understanding non-self gives us the freedom to let go of these heavy expectations we place on ourselves. You don't need to constantly prove yourself or defend this imagined, unchanging self. Instead, you can just be present in each moment, responding naturally to whatever comes your way. So, how do we start practicing non-self in daily life? A simple way is through mindfulness. Pay attention to your thoughts and feelings as they come and go. When you're upset or stressed, take a step back and ask yourself, is this feeling really me? By observing how your emotions and thoughts are constantly changing, you begin to see that they aren't your true, permanent self. Meditation is a great tool for this. When you meditate, you'll notice that thoughts and emotions appear and disappear, but you don't have to cling to them. You begin to experience yourself as the awareness that witnesses these changes, rather than identifying with the thoughts and feelings themselves. In the end, non-self doesn't mean you don't exist. It simply shows us that the self we often think of as solid and permanent is actually a fluid, ever-changing process. And when we grasp this, we can live more lightly, with less stress and worry. To wrap up, I hope this video has helped you understand the concept of non-self in Buddhism and how it can make a real difference in your life. Remember, you don't have to cling to an imagined identity or worry about defending a fixed self. Life is a constant flow, and the key is to flow with it. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.